First time you saw this was all the way back on page 177. But even then, I don't think we knew the gravity, the magnitude, the alliterative consonants of Cpctc. Stands for corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Let's go back to page 177 before carrying on to page 337, just to kind of see what the book had to say way back then. And a little notey card note ruler right there, just so we don't lose my place. All right, let's take a look here. You have a highlighter and something to write with. Do you have page 177 in your notes so that you can look at it? Because, man, oh man, you're going to need to use it. It's in addition to or next to the side-side-side congruence theorem. You know, if that's not highlighted in your book, it should be. Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent, abbreviated Cpctc. It's often used as a reason in proofs. It's often used in connection to side-side-side congruence. So it would behoove you to know what that word or that acronym actually is referencing and how we can use it. In short, what it says is you can write congruence statements for all of the corresponding parts that match once you know the triangles are congruent. Let's practice that way back or way forward now on page 337. Of course, I've highlighted the habits of mind. This 100% is something that we're practicing in this lesson, reasoning abstractly and quantitatively, constructing viable arguments and critiquing the reasoning of others, and Cpctc, tongue twister, is one of those. You know that when two triangles are congruent, then each part of one triangle is congruent to the corresponding part of the other triangle. It's why I have you highlight, people. Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Abbreviated Cpctc is often used as a reason in proofs. That's copied straight off page 177. They plagiarized. Cpctc states that corresponding angles or sides. That's what I added to my note card. I said, like angles and sides, right, of congruent triangles, they're congruent because we used SSS, etc. Therefore, they are congruent, and you can use this reason only after you've proven the triangles are congruent. So we got to do that. That's what we're going to practice. Let's go. Consider the triangle CPS. They need to fix that acronym. And the triangle WPD in the figure shown. Suppose CW and S, they need to fix that acronym. CW, right? Yeah, DC semi-novellas. Here we go. And SD bisect each other. So sketch a highlighted line for CW and sketch a highlighted segment SD. Now, if it says they bisect each other, we should add the markings on the diagram that do that. Remember, bisect, word of the day, bisect means to cut in half. So this entire line segment that's orange has been cut in half at point P. With one spike, that means SP, we're going to focus on it right now, has one spike just like PD does. Those two sides are the same length. Half and half, 1 and 1. Now, CW is also bisected by that orange line. So if CW is bisected in the middle, then two spikes, you have to use two. You've already used one. Two spikes tells us that CP and PW are the same. So we're just really kind of processing, right? I haven't really read the question, or I'm just considering. That's what we're doing. We are considering what's going on in the two triangles. We're eventually going to answer part A, explain how the two triangles are congruent. But this is what you should be doing before you even see the question bubble up. What do you get from the diagram? What information can we use right away? Now, I also have this vocabulary word. Maybe zoom in on your screen. It says vertical angles. And when you see two lines that cross, like so, turn the book if it helps, you actually wind up creating vertical angles. And so we're going to acknowledge that CPS and DPW are congruent angles because they are vertical. Vertical angles are congruent. If you can make a list of 3 statements of things that match, if you can highlight the corresponding matching pieces, then right away, you've done your job. That's what we need to be able to do so that you can prove the triangles are congruent. And use this. Okay, make a list. Yeah, there's a formal way to write it up. We can worry about the formal way if you want to, but I'm going to say this. I'm going to say PW is equal to PC. I should use congruence, shouldn't I? It's triangle congruence, not triangle equality. Put a line segment, put a squiggle, put a line segment. Okay, there it is. PW is congruent to PC. PD is congruent, segment, line on top, is congruent to segment PS. So those are side and another side. Now we also have to mention the angle because I highlighted it green because it's a vertical angle. So we're going to say vertical angle, C, I don't like the way it starts. I'm going to go SPC. There we go. I'm going to get away from that other acronym. Is congruent to angle DPW. I almost said DPS. Okay. That's an angle that's included between the two sides. So therefore, what we have is 2 sides and an angle. Don't think of the swear word. Think of SAS. So for these reasons, this is bisect. This is vertical angle. For those reasons, we are allowed to say triangle SPC is congruent to triangle DPW. That's how I would demonstrate the triangles are congruent. Now, you know what? Since the triangles are congruent, there's 3 corresponding parts that we used in the process of showing the triangles are congruent. Now we get to do this. Cpctc, what are the other pieces that match, people? For one thing, I know that DW, Arthur reference, is congruent to SC. Okay, let's see if I can zoom out here a minute or 2. Yeah, there we go. Sorry, I might be small on your YouTube screen, but let's get over it. Let's go watch it on a bigger screen, I guess, like your Chromebook. Okay, DW is congruent to SC. Next, I haven't talked about this angle, this 90-degree angle at S and the 90-degree angle at D. So angle S, I just have to use one letter S. There's no other angles made right there, is congruent to angle D. For another reason, they're 90 degrees. But because the triangles are congruent and those 2 letters, those 2 angles correspond, that's why they match. Next, angle C. So this is the other angle I haven't talked about, and this is the other angle I haven't talked about. So angle C is congruent to angle W. And the reason for all of that, Cpctc. Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. And of course, everything else that we mentioned up above. Thank you for watching this video. Next.